Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk Season 1, Episode 2 of Outcast. Now, I am late, and I did a full video, like 4 or 5 minutes, talking about what's coming up on this channel for Outcast, TV show, and the comic, why I am late with this review, and a few other things about Cinemax getting their shit together. Also, when we're talking about the comic, I'll throw this in here real quick, we're not going to do spoilers at all, because I do believe if they stick with some of the comic storyline, and I think some of it you have to, but I think it spoils the show when you see the reveals and witness the twists, especially one in particular that has to deal with what's going on that's so supernatural. I think that twist is so damn cool in the comic, and it's a small one, and I can't wait to see it on the screen. Anyway, so episode 2 was focusing on the backstory of Kyle Barnes as a child and his mother. Boy, was it vicious. It's vicious in the comic, but witnessing it on TV, the way they play it out, especially where they will show images, like Kyle's walking through the house and they'll show a flashback, and then later they take these pieces of the flashbacks and they play it out, and some of it might trick you. Like at first I thought maybe Kyle's mother locked him in the pantry, because all we see is like a wooden spoon, like a mixing spoon, locking the pantry door. And I thought Kyle was being locked inside. And then when it plays out, here he locks his mother inside, you know, and then she talks him into letting her out. She busts the door down, and then they get into a fight. I thought it was his tooth that get knocked out. When we finally see it play out later on, it's her tooth that gets knocked out. Because he did pick up the tooth and he touched his cheek, I think. But if I remember correctly at the end, yeah. And then you see different things that is pretty revealing. So all in all, the pacing, what they show you, it's kind of like controlled flashbacks where we're going to show you pieces. We'll let you put together what you think happened, like you can assume what happened, and then a little bit later in the episode we're going to show you what really happened, and sometimes it really tricks you out, and I really like that. Adding the scene where, you know, you get Kyle's mother, she's outside laughing, she's loving life, loving her time with her son, and she looks beautiful, right? Blonde hair. This is definitely the complete opposite we see later on. So she's outside just loving life. She falls down in the mud, just starts rubbing mud all over her, like losing her shit, right? And then when we see her later, she is just a complete mess. I mean, her hair looks darker. I know it is a flashback, and there was a lot of shaky cam. There's a lot of like darkness, a lot of shadows. But she looked totally different. It looked like a completely different actress. And again, too, a lot of shaky cam. When you see it, when she's losing her shit, it's like everything's opposite. So again, filming that the way they did it was great. The backstory's loving it. There was a moment I wrote down that I still don't understand, which was the bike in the tree. It looks like the tree grew around the bike. Now, this bike in the tree was one thing that interested the hell out of me, so I just had to go online and look up something about it. And I found an old story that claimed a soldier went off to war, he set his bike against a tree, and he never returned. The tree ended up growing, lifting the bike up, and it grew around the bike. So if that's the case, if that was their inspiration for this, that would mean that when Kyle's mother called him over, he set his bike against a tree and he went off to war. His childhood was over and he never returned to war. Emotionally, you know, he grew up from that point very scarred and damaged from the brutality that happened after his mother got possessed. So I thought that was just an incredible addition to put in the story. And like I said, I'm definitely going to look into it further, because I love little things like that that's put into movies and TV. And you guys know we're also reviewing Preacher on this channel, and I just thought it was an odd coincidence that on Preacher you have Jesse, who is the preacher, talking about wanting to get asses in seats. That's his mission the past few episodes. And then in this episode you have Reverend Anderson in Outcast wanting to get asses in seats. Don't ask me why, but I just felt like for a moment I was reviewing Preacher when I'm taking notes for the show. Mixed me up for a minute there. I wonder if any other Preacher fans caught that. But But anyway, besides the backstory that they added and changed from the comic, which this is something I really like that they do. You get something similar from the comic, but you also get these differences where at the end of the differences and the similarity, you basically meet at the same place, both the comic and the show. It seems like every time they make these deviations, they always meet up back at the same place. And I really, really like that because it allows for the story to play around with different ways to tell this story, but still stay on track. It's freaking awesome. One thing I did not like, though, is the special effects when the thing, the black goo, we'll call it, picks up Kyle Barnes as a child and starts choking him. It is noticeably bad, I thought. That was bad. I don't know if there's a different way they could have done this. I don't know why they chose to do it CGI. And again, you might be like, well, how the fuck are they supposed to do it not CGI? Well, they could have, you know, decided to use something they could manipulate where on a faraway shot, obviously, if it's picking Kyle up, yeah, you need CGI. But up close, where it's going to be so noticeable, so glossy, so different from everything else that's happening, all the practical stuff, you know, it's so much of a difference, you know, it just took me right out of it. And again, when you do those close-up shots, if you're using something that's practical, where it's CGI from a distance, but close up, you can have some type of material that would be a practical effect because it was close up on just his head and his neck. So you can have something that's some kind of material. It doesn't matter, but I'm just surprised they didn't do something like that. Now, maybe they wanted it to be consistent, and for that, I can't really fault them because consistency, that's definitely a plus. You want it to look the same, even if it's going to look different. And that's another thing too, thinking about it now. This is a supernatural thing, you know. This thing came, supposedly this is what's possessing people, right? There's this black goo in them, it comes out of them, and it tried to strangle or kill Kyle Barnes. I don't know, it just kind of left. That was also a little different, but that might play into his backstory a little bit of maybe what gives him the power, what allows him to have this power. I'm not really sure. But in closing with the pros and cons, I'm liking the story. I really like the mystery. I love the parts that are just like the comic, and I'm loving the parts that are different from the comic. Again, it's telling the same story differently in a way where it allows it to come back and easily tell more of the comic the exact same way. You know what I mean? That's a big pro. It's a big bonus, especially being a fan of the comic. My only con that I remember after watching episode 2 is the CGI. I just did not like it. But anyway, that's my thoughts and opinions on episode 2. I'm really liking the story, and I really like the mystery. Again, I feel like there's something there that is going to be a huge twist that we don't see coming. With that surprise lingering on the horizon somewhere, most likely in season 2 or 3, because I already get a feel where they're going to end. Again, no comic spoilers, but I'm already getting a good idea of where they're going to end season 1. And we're going to have a lot of questions still, it looks like, by the end of season 1. So that's going to be very interesting. Put your thoughts and opinions. What did you think of Outcast season 1, episode 2? I don't know why I keep saying the season, but what did you think of episode 2 of the first season? I can't help myself. Put your thoughts and opinions down in the comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn.
Subscribe now.